Andre is like one of the beats in my heart, and it's gone. It's gone, and we can't get him back. We tried to give him a better life, and he lost his life here. But we could have closure if somebody would tell who did this to Andre. They set him up. It was somebody he knew because he got a phone call, and he went outside, and when he got outside, they shot him. He wouldn't have gone outside for a stranger. So we pray every night for the police to find the people that did this to Andre.
Well, Miss Robbie, the good news is that your prayers were answered. The bad news is the murderer and the people who set up your grandson, as you knew someone had set him up, is your only living son and his co-conspirators. So once again, your son, James Timothy Norman, has caused a massive amount of pain and grief in your life on a level that I think is unimaginable by any living human being. So, I am LaVell, aka Vell, and welcome to my channel, The Evolution of Vell. So, I am back today with another video. I've been asked by multiple people, Vell, when are you getting out your update on the Sweetie Pie's murder for hire plot? Here it is, people. Here it is. I have been scouring the internet to get you guys a comprehensive, all-in-one, packaged up, where are we now with this foolery. So you guys have now heard the audio that I played at the beginning of the video, which was audio from the memorial service immediately back in 2016 when Andre was murdered, and that was Miss Robbie petitioning those at the memorial to basically help them turn in and find the people who committed the crime and killed Andre. And the crazy thing is, even then, within days after, she was saying he was set up because he would not have gone out for a stranger. Well, Miss Robbie, you are right. So let's get into it. So this week, the third co-conspirator was officially arrested. His name is Wali Yagnam, I think. I think everyone's like guessing at the pronunciation because I haven't heard it officially anywhere. But anyway, he was one of the co-conspirators. There are 3 that have been named thus far. I think there may be more. But he actually was a Grammy-nominated record producer for Nellyville, Nelly, the rapper Nelly's album. So he actually had some level of prestige and a career. And he turned into an insurance agent, which is how we got to this place, because him and James Timothy Norman co-conspired with this whole insurance scam, murder for hire style. So yes, he has officially been arrested, thank God. So what I have for you guys today is the actual criminal complaint from the United States in the Eastern District of Missouri. So yes, this is the official document. So what I'm gonna do is read through some highlighted areas. I will not read all of it, but it's pretty meaty, and it basically explains the plot pretty much in detail than what the FBI discovered over the past 4 years regarding this. And it's interesting, people. So for this, I'm going to read the papers. I actually printed them out, people. This is the real deal. This is the real deal. So this one happens to be Tarika Ellis's criminal complaint. So this is not each one individually, but it does summarize basically the whole plot because they were all involved and they all did the same darn thing. So cleaning my glasses. Okay, so got the glasses on. I'm going to read this. So the United States Court for the Eastern District of Missouri, the United States of America versus Tarika Tanisha Ellis. In the criminal complaint for the above dates of March 14, 2016, which was actually the date of the murder. So let's see. In the suppressed complaint affidavit, I'm going to jump down to number 3 where it states, as here outlined, there exists probable cause to believe that Tarika Ellis conspired with conspirator number 1, that's Timothy Norman, and or others known and unknown to investigators at this time to use facilities of interstate commerce, namely a cell phone, to commit a murder for hire in exchange for United States currency. Yes, so in exchange for money. So it says, On March 14th, 2016, at approximately 8:02 p.m., Andre Montgomery, hereinafter known as Montgomery, so as we read on, they're just going to refer to him as Montgomery, he was killed by gunfire at 3964 Natural Bridge Avenue, which is located in the city of St. Louis within the Eastern District of Missouri. Montgomery's cellular telephone was located in close proximity to his body and was forensically examined following the murder. Witness to the scene of the homicide indicated that Montgomery went outside to meet someone after receiving a telephone call and was shot and killed shortly thereafter. The forensic examiner of Montgomery's phone and subsequent investigation revealed that the two people he spoke to within 10 minutes prior to his death was his friend KT and someone later identified to be Tarika Ellis, utilizing telephone number, and they give the telephone numbers, and that's known as phone. So Ellis's phone is considered to be phone number 1 as they go through this document. So it says Ellis phone number 1 had been saved in Montgomery's telephone under the contact name Alexis the Great. Between 8 p.m. and 8:02 p.m., witness KT advised that while speaking with Montgomery, he heard, well, it says she heard at least one female voice in the background before the call disconnected. After further described herein, the location of the information associated with Ellis's phone number 1 put the phone in the vicinity of the murder at the time the murder occurred. Further investigation also revealed that Ellis's phone number 1 was a prepaid telephone that was activated the day of the murder, then ceased all activity the following day on March 15th, 2020. I see a typo here. They say on March 15th, 2020. It was not 2020. So on March 15th, 2016. Further investigation also revealed that Ellis's phone number 1 was a prepaid telephone that was activated the day of the murder, then ceased all activity on the following day, March 15th, 2016. So it then goes on to say, in an attempt to identify Alexis the Great, ultimately identified as Tarika Ellis, investigators also identified communication in Montgomery's telephone with the cellular telephone number, and then they give the number, hereafter Ellis's phone number 2. Okay, so she had two phone numbers that she was using to communicate with Andre. And then it says, a number also attributed to Tarika Ellis as described herein. In a text message dated Sunday, March 6th, so this was days before, 2016, the owner of Ellis's phone number 2 advised Montgomery that she was on her way back to Memphis and would be in St. Louis on Thursday, which would have been March 10th, 2016. In the text message dated March 14th, 2016, Montgomery asked the owner, Ellis, phone number 2, to identify her IG, a common abbreviation for Instagram account name. We know this. Well, most of us can know this. So it says Montgomery received a response of Alexis the Great. So he asked her, Andre asked her what her IG was, and she said Alexis the Great. This is going to be important as we read on. So she sent that from her second phone. Furthermore, because this is a lot, it says on the day of the homicide at 2:42 p.m., Montgomery received a text message from Ellis phone number 1 telling him to delete the other number and to start using Ellis's phone number 1 instead. So she was already setting it up like, I'm gonna start texting you from the burner phone that I'm gonna then throw away. And thankfully he didn't delete the other number, it looks like. Wow, this is deep, people. This is deep. So this led investigators to believe that Ellis phone number 1 saved as Alexis the Great and Montgomery's phone, and Ellis's phone number 2 were both being used by the same person. That's a good assumption, right? So it says, as described herein, investigators later identified this person as Tarika Ellis, hashtag the stripper. So it goes on to say, through a subpoena to Instagram for information relative to the Alexis the Great account, the investigators learned that the Alexis the Great account had a registered email of tarikaellis@gmail.com. So pretty obvious you're the same person, right? So investigators located an email address in Montgomery's cellular phone from the email address tarikaellis@gmail.com that was dated March 10th, 2016, in which Ellis advised Montgomery, "I am on my way in town," which is consistent with the information she provided Montgomery in the aforementioned text message. Through follow-up investigation, the investigative team, they had a team on this one, learned that Ellis maintained a permanent residence in Memphis, Tennessee, and occasionally traveled to St. Louis, Missouri. In the minutes after Montgomery's murder, location information associated with the prepaid Ellis phone number 1 showed the phone to be heading south on Interstate 55 before ceasing activity in Memphis, Tennessee the following day. So she took the phone home and then tossed it. So it goes on to say, a search warrant was served on tarikaellis@gmail.com account. So it goes on to say, in the contents of the email found during the search, Ellis identified her telephone number as, and it gives the number, and it was for her phone number 2, the same number that had contacted Montgomery and advised him that her Instagram account was Alexis the Great on March 14th, 2016. It looked like we got some slow people up in this one. People. Dumb, dumb, and dumber. Anyway, so there's a lot. I'm almost done. We're almost done, people. In examining the victim familiar and social connections, investigators subsequently discovered that on October 2014, Conspirator 1 attempted to obtain a $250,000 life insurance policy for which he was the sole beneficiary on Montgomery through Americo. So just for information as we read further, Conspirator number 1 is James Timothy Norman. So this is Robbie's son. It then says 2 weeks later, Conspirator number 1 attempted to obtain a second life insurance policy on Montgomery in the amount of $200,000, in addition to an accidental death rider in the amount of $250,000 through Forrester's Insurance. To me, that's so obvious. Like, you're pulling out you got 2 policies and an additional rider. Like, dude, what are y'all doing? The Forrester's policy issue listed Conspirator number 1 as the sole beneficiary, and Conspirator number 1 paid the monthly premiums directly from the Conspirator 1's checking account. So Tim was paying this from his checking account. In March of 2015, Conspirator 1 attempted to obtain a replacement policy on Montgomery in the amount of $249,999. I wonder does it make it, people do that when they're doing illegal things with money. They'll like back it off like basically $1 or 1 cent to make it not be as illegal. So I don't know what that's about. But the application was denied. 4 days after Montgomery's murder, a man identified himself as Conspirator number 1 and using a phone number known to belong to Conspirator 1 called Forrester's in attempt to collect the policy. Despite several additional efforts to collect the policy since Montgomery's murder, Forrester's has yet to pay out on the policy due to the Conspirator number 1's failure to provide several requested documents. Through subpoenas to the life insurance company and to U.S. Bank, investigators identified 2 phone numbers for Conspirator number 1. So they gave both his phone numbers. So he had phone number 1 and phone number 2. A review of the toll records determined that Ellis' phone number 1 was primarily in contact with Montgomery and another cellular device with the number, and it gives that number. Herein, Conspirator phone number 3. So there were 3 phones involved. Herein, Conspirator phone 3. On the day of Montgomery's murder, records indicate that both Ellis' phone number 1 and Conspirator phone number 3 were prepaid phones that were activated on the day of Montgomery's murder, then became inactive the following day on March 15th, 2016. They got phones the day of the murder, and then he mysteriously stopped using the phones the day after. Wonder why. So it goes on to say Ellis was communicating with Conspirator number 1 in the time surrounding Montgomery's murder. Despite being at the scene of Montgomery's murder at 8:02 p.m., Ellis's first call was not to the police, but rather Conspirator number 1 at 8:03 p.m. So within a minute of Andre being killed, Ellis is calling Tim, at which time, her phone location data showed that she was driving in a direction consistent with her returning home to Memphis, Tennessee. So she got out of town. In the time surrounding Montgomery's murder, precision location information associated with Conspirator Phone 3 showed that the phone traveled from St. Louis, Missouri to Los Angeles, California, where investigators know Conspirator number 1 to have resided. So that's Tim. So Tim's phone, burner phone, went from St. Louis back to California. It says flight records obtained by investigators determined that Conspirator number 1 flew from Los Angeles, California to St. Louis, Missouri on March 13, 2016, the day before Montgomery's murder, landing around midnight on March 14, 2016. Then flew back to Los Angeles, landing in the early morning hours of March 15, 2016. So he flies in on March 14th at midnight basically, and then flies back out first thing in the morning on March 15th the next morning. Right, like within hours basically. It then goes on to say, Conspirator 1 travel records indicate that he made a one-night only reservation to stay at the Chase Park Plaza, a hotel located at the Central West End neighborhood of the city of St. Louis, on the night of March 13th, 2016. So then it says location data from both Conspirator Phone number 3 and Ellis Phone number 1 indicates at the time of their first communication on March 14, 2016, they were both in the area of the Chase Park Plaza in St. Louis, Missouri. So they've been able to place those two together physically. Okay, so we're almost done with this document, people. Last one. So it says, a review of the toll records and text communications to Montgomery's phone revealed that Montgomery texted Ellis' phone number 1 the address of the house where he was ultimately murdered at 7:07 p.m. on March 14, 2016. So he texted her at 7:07 p.m. and by 8, not even a full hour later, basically, not quite an hour later, he was dead. So it says, at 7:08 p.m., Ellis also placed a call to Conspirator Phone number 3. So she called Tim. So Andre texts her his address, and then she she calls Tim immediately after. Like, Jesus. Whoa. Oh, Jesus. Man, Jesus. So on March 15, 2016, the day after Montgomery's homicide, Ellis deposited $3,020 in U.S. currency into her checking account at the Orange Mound branch of the First Horizon Tennessee Bank in Memphis, Tennessee. Prior to this deposit, Ellis's checking account had a balance of negative $299.83 after multiple overdraft charges. On the same day, Ellis also deposited $4,340 into a savings account opened that day at the same bank in Memphis, Tennessee, for a total of $7,360 in cash deposit. On March 17, 2016, Ellis deposited an additional $1,900 in U.S. currency into her checking account at the same branch. Other than one other cash deposit in the amount of $100, no other cash deposits were made to Ellis's account in all of 2016. So she ain't the type of chick, because she a chick, she ain't the type of chick that got money where she deposited large sums here and there. Okay, so it then says, on March 22nd, 2016, Ellis flew from Memphis, Tennessee to Los Angeles, California with her mother and Ellis's daughter. This is where Tim lives, right? He's in California. He's living in California at that time. It says the location data obtained from the cellular phone shows that on at least one occasion, she was in the same location as Conspirator number 1. So at least on one occasion when she flew to California, she was in the same place as Tim. Ellis and her family returned to Memphis, Tennessee on March 28th, 2016. And then lastly, it says on April 30th, 2016, Conspirator number 1 sent Ellis $700 in U.S. currency via Western Union. So he sent her $700. Would that be wrapping up to $9,000? That might have made it a cool That might have been the balance to make it $10,000. I don't know. I didn't do the math. That is a lot of people. So yes, that is the criminal complaint filing affidavit for Tarika Ellis only. So this is what they wrote for her, but this summarizes the story. So that's why I wanted to share it, because it gives us now more details to like the play-by-play really from 2014 when he took out the policy all the way through. Whew. So for me, this is just a tale of dumber and dumber. Because I think it's 4 people involved. I don't know for sure. But anyway, just the pure fact that so many people were involved in this murder for hire plot is alone a dumb idea, because one person gets caught, let's say the shooter gets caught, and then they're just gonna trick. They're gonna turn you in. They're gonna turn you. It's not no real money. $10,000, you know, that you gave that girl, $9,000, whatever it was. That's not no money to make her be quiet when she's about to go to jail for life. And then also when you look at the Yagnam, so he's conspirator number 3, and besides him being the insurance agent who actually tried to push through these fraudulent life insurance policy claims, I know, let me find my phone. Where? Yeah, so prosecutors are saying that Yagman and Norman made false statements on the life insurance applications for Andre, and so they said they lied about the teen's income, because gotta remember, when he did this at that time, Andre was 18 years old. He was a teen, like in high school still. You want to kill a teenager. You plotted this out when your nephew was still in high school. Like, what could he have done to you to make you hate him so much that you would want to take his life for a few $100,000 that you never got? So it says that Yagnam and Timothy Norman, they both lied about the teen's income, net worth, medical history, employment, and family background. From what I heard, they were saying that he owned property, that he was married, that he had children, and to my knowledge, none of that is true. And then the burner phones, So it says, I through some of my research, I found out that Tim had the burner phones registered in his name. So whether you, I don't know, email addresses or however they set those phones up, he had his name in it. Duh. So once a criminal, always a criminal? Is that it? Like, I'm not saying that for anyone who's been, but in this case it's true. In this case it's true. So moving forward, that's a lot of people, but so there have been like all kind of things going on the internet. You got, you know, like everyone kind of digging up the past. So actually Gossip of the City, thinking of a blogger, had actually, I guess, I don't know. Anyway, she was able to capture Alexis the Great's post on IG 3 days after the murder. And so I'll have it here. So in it, you can clearly see it's saying, out enjoying life. You took a life, but you're out enjoying yours. So that to me says that there is, I mean, she wasn't regretting or grieving. She was celebrating a little funky $7,000 that she got, or at that point, or $9,000. Like, that ain't changing nobody's life. I mean, it ain't changing lives enough to take people's lives, I'll put it that way. Then somebody else captured that literally what they were saying was, you know, someone passes away, like my father recently passed away. On that day that they passed away, you know, the family honors them, and you know, you have maybe a memorial, you think about them, you put a post about them, and you just, you know, whatever, you mention them. Just maybe mention them, especially when you're maybe active or whatever. Well, Tim, on the 1 year anniversary of the date that he killed his nephew, even though he didn't pull the trigger, he killed him. He posted this, yes. And then, just to let you know that the plot thickens, there was a post that they are saying was from one of Andre's cousin, one of Andre and Tim's cousins. So she posted on her Facebook when it was officially announced that James Timothy Norman was in custody. She posted on her Facebook, punk ass, we already knew it. So, and then someone else, I guess it was another relative, they responded exactly. He will get his, shaking my head, glad Dre finally got the justice he deserved. So this tells me, and a lot of us in reading that this was, man, the family was not necessarily, the entire family was not exactly surprised by this. And I'm sure kind of taking out a life insurance policy that nobody knew about. And probably when it came out eventually, you know, over the years of things happening and secrets get out, they were like, this, you know, then killed our family member. So, and there's no telling what else happened behind the scenes. So theories I've heard, because they have been a heck of a lot of comments in general on social media, but especially for me, what I've mainly noticed were all the tens of hundreds of comments that we have in our very own video of the original announcing of Timothy being charged with this murder for hire plot. So one of the things was, because one of my first questions was like, why would he need to get an insurance policy out on Andre when he was fairly wealthy, so I thought. However, as things are coming out with this, he actually started the policy, as we know now, in 2014. Well, in 2014, things looked a lot different for Tim than they did today. And one was, at that time, he was working at the Manchester Grove location as general manager of Sweetie Pies. And he had gotten fired by his mom from the restaurant. And I do remember that playing out on the show when he got fired. So, and part of it was from like bullying. I can't remember who it was at that time, but somebody. And that was their only, I think that, well, that was their hub at that point. That was their biggest location. I don't think Upper Crust was open at that point. And it's been rumored that, well, I think we can all see it too, but it's been stated that Tim basically is kind of reckless with money and spends a lot of money. And, you know, we all know he was opening up restaurants left and right. And so that kind of would say, yes, there was a motive financially to do this. And although Miss Robbie is wealthy, I think they estimated her wealth at $11 million or something, I heard. So I'm not sure how true that is, but it's definitely a couple or a few million for sure, I would say. And so she's wealthy, but he is not necessarily wealthy on her level. And so, yeah, that kind of would be a motive financially. And then this was something that someone put in our comments, and I will have some other follow-up because I'm going to do something with our comments as well, because there were some very interesting things that people were saying. But one of the things too is that never occurred to me until I read it, was that Andre was the last living heir, besides Tim, to Robbie's fortune. And in the sense of, Andre was the son of Tim's brother who had passed away. So we know that, you know, it usually passes to the children. Andre is the only child of that brother. So it would have been, you know, as far as Robbie's concerned, like her direct heirs, Tim and her grandson, Andre. So that would be another motive. Like, if I get rid of Andre and he has no children or anything, then maybe I get more of the lion's share of the estate when my mom, who's 80, passes away. And then the other thing was, Tarika Ellis actually had never really physically met Andre. She met him on Instagram because she's like, you know, a stripper. And so he was communicating and trying to get with her. However, what I don't think he knew was that they're saying that she actually, where she did not know Andre, and she was communicating with him, you know, via social media, and then obviously scheduling some, you know, meetup kind of session, she actually did know Tim. And that's how we led into, I don't know if he set her up to say, hey, hit on him through IG and he gonna take the bait and then we gonna do this whole plot. I don't know. Or if they started talking and then she, you know, he realized they knew each other. I don't know how that part went down, but they are saying that Tarika and Andre didn't actually know each other. It was online sort of meeting. And then they're saying that Tarika is also rumored to be the driver. And basically in the complaint here, the criminal complaint, you actually do read where it says she was in the vicinity of the murder and did not call the police, however called Tim, literally within 1 minute of Andre being murdered. So it's basically alluding to her being, you know, a part of the getaway car, like she was literally there. So people, that is a lot. That is my take on it. I have, again, scoured the internet and kind of tried to compile the various pieces that I have been able to learn. And the plan is, I do have at least one more video, maybe two, related to this that I'm gonna share, and we'll just see what happens with this. I mean, thankfully that there will be justice for Andre. I am happy in the sense of, I feel like this level of information, and you know, everything's not here as far as like what the FBI have done and what the prosecution is going to bring up. We don't have it all, and I did hear that the judge did seal the proceedings. I don't know what they call it, but anyway, the filings. I think he sealed the filings. I think that's. But anyway, he sealed it in a way that basically all we getting is what's right here. So all the other, you know, nuances of what may come out, we'll find out, I guess, during the trial. I'm assuming maybe this will be a public trial, but we don't know. So we will stay tuned. I will stay tuned and bring whatever information that we deem is necessary. I'll bring it to you guys. So with that, comment below, justice for Andre. Justice for Andre. So if you've lasted to this point in the video, comment below justice for Andre so that I know that you made it to the end of this video and you were able to, listen to this. And so if you have any comments, questions, concerns about this, make sure to just comment below. What do you think about, you know, what I've shared today? And do you still think, I mean, we're, you know, he's already on trial in the, you know, court of public opinion, and I am part of that jury because it's hard for me to read all of this and hear all the things that I've heard and still be like, he's innocent until proven guilty. I mean, yes, legally, yes, but in my mind, clink, clink. So, but with that, thank you guys for joining me once again. I hope that, you know, you got something out of this video, and there'll be more to come related to this, but also, you know, other content as well. So with that, let me get to editing this so I can get it out to you guys ASAP. For those of you who are in the notification game and the comment below game, thank you guys. If you are new to this channel, you've lasted to this long. So to me, that definitely means that you have found this interesting. Show that love and support. And there's more. There's a ton around here. We're binge-worthy now. So comment below, let me know that you're new, and subscribe. Gotta subscribe to support this channel and to grow with us and to hear more about this story, but a whole lot more, because that's what we do here. So till next time, thank you guys for supporting and watching this channel. Till I turn this camera on again, take care, be blessed, peace.